Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers, and tonight, more bad news for the gaming industry. First, we had the RAM problem, and now possible GPU issues in 2026. So, let me share out this article talking about GPU cuts. As we see, it's Nvidia that's been talking about it. So, Nvidia, they might cut the RTX 50 GPU supply by up to 40% in 2026 due to memory shortages, as they're stating. They also mentioned that they were going to be shifting some focus into AI. So AI to blame all around. So whatever your feelings on AI is, you may have even worse feelings after this. So, and then this also mentions that the 5070 and 56 Ti card could be the first to see supply side restrictions. And if you shopped around for a GPU at any time recently, the prices are still astronomically high, right? So, the article goes on to say the global memory crunch is reportedly squeezing Nvidia enough that it will reduce production of its RTX 50 series GPUs, as WCCF Tech reports. Citing the Chinese board channel forums, Nvidia could trim Blackwell gaming GPU production by 30 to 40% in the first half of 2026, which could put a significant strain on your next PC build. I think it's already putting a strain on the builds because I'm seeing it trying to build a new PC myself. So according to BenchLife, the change will initially affect the mid-range models, as we mentioned, the 5070, 5060s. That is disappointing as they're the most affordable 12 gigabyte plus VRAM GPUs from NVIDIA. Everything above that gets very expensive, and everything below suffers hamstring performance in higher fidelity games. This reportedly a strategic decision for NVIDIA amid pressures from data center clients sucking up all the hardware. With memory and solid-state drives in shorter supply, and prices rising, PC purchasing and upgrading will likely be diminished as a result. So its drop in GPU output may turn out to be a reflection of the market as much as its own inability to produce enough graphics cards. All right, because remember, they're focusing on their more direction on AI, which is what everybody is doing, which is hurting everything. So because we had Micron, which makes crucial memory last week, we were talking about. They decided to get out of the consumer market for RAM, and they're one of the largest manufacturers of consumer RAM. So just to make sure that they could shelve more of it to the data centers for AI. So it says, while support reports suggest AMD will increase GPU prices by 10% or more next year, it's reported that NVIDIA is attempting to avoid price hikes. That said, partners with fewer supplies will likely want to increase their margin, which could result in prices rise on their end, right? Supply and demand. All those people holding stock of NVIDIA GPUs will be like, well, just raise the price. NVIDIA hasn't addressed these reports, but in recent earnings call, CEO Jensen Huang said NVIDIA has done a really good job planning our supply chain. Obviously, I don't agree with that because we can't produce, but they're at a little bit of constraints, right, with the VRAM. So basically includes every technology company in the world, and TSMC and their packaging and our memory vendors and memory partners and all of our team ODMs have done a really good job planning for this. So we'll just close this article because there's much ado about a lot of fluff in here. So we'll get rid of that and just kind of go around. So, I mean, these guys mentioned something that really we haven't seen too much of a price hike in, and that's the solid state drives, the SSDs. A lot of people are using NVMEs in the consumer market. So I think that's why we're not seeing too much of a shakeup there. Solid states are used in that industry, but I think if you look at a lot of the storage frames that they use, that's not the form factor they're using. So we're a little safe in the consumer market on that, unless those companies decide to refocus what they're doing with the NVMEs to be more server side or storage pool, NAS, SAN storage, move away from that. And then we're going to be hurting on that. So this really comes at a bad time, right? Because we're talking about next gen consoles. They're talking about the Steam machine coming out, all these are going to be priced based off of supply and demand. And they're also going to be sucking up more of the supply. So you got a Steam machine coming out and they're wanting to sell a few million units. Well, there goes a few more million sticks of memory, GPUs, all this stuff. They're all going to, because everybody is, I think it's Switch and Xbox are using an NVIDIA based GPU into theirs, a custom NVIDIA GPU. And then I haven't heard the Steam machine was going to use an NVIDIA GPU. I don't even know if they've said the hardware specifications. I've not paid too much into it. because the Steam Machine's not for me, obviously, because I make my own PCs. I don't need them to build it, because we also know that the Steam Machine is going to be on par with the cost of a standard PC, right? You basically take all the parts, add it up in a Steam Machine, you price it out yourself, and that's where they're going to be in the market. So to me, that's like, okay, they're in my opinion, they're catering to the people who have a PC only for gaming and have just bought like a off shelf PC, right? There's not going to be any Windows on it. It'll be Steam OS, which is geared towards gaming, not really productivity. Although you could do it if you wanted to. There's nothing preventing you from doing productivity stuff on it. So this just spells in my eyes more hurdles for the gaming industry. If we're going to have trouble getting a hold of next gen hardware, or current gen hardware, I should say, when they're ready to roll out next gen, it's going to be even tighter range, and we're not going to be able to basically keep up. Games are going to have to stop pushing the limitations of hardware so that the hardware has time to basically recoup, catch up with supply. And I don't see, as long as AI is dominating the market these days, I do not see the hardware keeping up. We're every day in the news, you hear about new data center popping up, new power demands for data centers, new water demands for data centers, for cooling, everything. Everything is AI this, AI that. And it's just like the next hot thing that's been hot for a few years. And it's just really coming to a head and getting, I don't know. At some point it has to level off, but I don't know when that's going to be, right? Because everybody's on the AI bandwagon these days. Everybody, video games, movies, TV,
everyone and
companies.
their mom.
Yeah. Companies, everybody is just pushing AI to, adopt more AI. Let's make this work. Let's make this work. And so, every new query adds more resource strain on data centers, on city, municipal, water supplies, everything that you can think of. And now, because the hardware manufacturers can't keep up, instead of them cutting the demand, the supply for AI, they're cutting the supply for consumers. So instead of just making consumers compete, which obviously we're not in, a lot of the hardware that the consumers are purchasing isn't the enterprise level hardware. We're purchasing the consumer level, but they're like, hey, we can make more money in the enterprise market than we can make in the consumer market. So let's go ahead and cut our lowest, the lowest hanging fruit that makes the least amount of money, and that is the consumers. And so, with the memory shortages, it's just insane. Like I said, I'm trying to build a new PC. I'm not trying to build anything super extravagant. I'm pricing DDR5 6000, and it's like $700, for the dual memory sticks, and I'm like, this is insane. That's more than my motherboard. That's more than the CPU. That's more than like a top end CPU and a pretty top end motherboard. And, and then you go and you're trying to price out a GPU, and GPUs are just expensive in general, and so is memories. Like I remember buying the current DDR4 that's in my machine now. I don't think I spent $170 on it, and it's pretty decent mid-range memory. And now it's like, hey, you want mid-range memory in a decent quantity, and I'm talking decent quantity like 32, 64 gigs, and $750, $800, and I'm just like, this is insane. So it just makes keeping your machine up to date so you can play the latest stuff, right? I mean, I want to get into the 50 series cards, but the cost versus what I have doesn't make sense, right? I have a 4070 Ti Super right now. I need to get into a 5090 or a 5080, and it's just like, good luck. That's going to cost more than your entire PC build to get onto that market, right? Which video cards have been high for many, many years now because of crypto and then the initial AI, until like Google built their own like TensorFlow units and things like that. But now there's some new Google and Nvidia in bed with each other, right? Type thing going down. Everybody's getting in bed with each other to get into AI. And I'm just like, how are these contributing when they have competing, things like that? I know that I thought Google had like a on-prem GPU kit that may have Nvidia in it, but I thought that was TensorFlow as well. But I haven't looked into that in a 6 months or so. So I don't know what they're doing or what their plan is on all that stuff. But gaming is just getting hammered right now. Everybody expects gamers to start paying $80 a game, plus paying exuberant amount of money for hardware. It is quickly, in my opinion, becoming unobtainable level of cost to play games anymore. I think the next gen consoles will just prove this concept out, right? If somebody comes out and says, here's a $900 PS6, is anybody going to buy that? I sure as hell won't. I can't. It's not even a will of can't. It's just, to me, the value is gone. I will have to, I will have to move to a single avenue gaming, right? Because right now, all of us, me, you, Shane, we are multi-avenue gamers. And what I mean by that is Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, PC. You think we play it all. But at this price point, it's like, hey, we have to narrow that field down. I basically, what we spent for 3 consoles is what one console is going to cost almost, to some extent. Not quite that high. But if you wanted to buy a PS5 and a Switch too, you're at probably the cost of the next gen PS6 or the Xbox non-existent, whatever they come out with next, that they keep saying, oh, we'll have something. That if they have anything that's not a streaming box next year, I'd be surprised. But yeah, so if you want to build a mid-range PC, in my opinion, you used to be able to do a decent mid-range PC for anywhere between $1,200 and $2,200, depending on where you want to dump your big bucks into. And now you're looking at mid-range, mid-upper, mid-range is blowing that out of the water, especially with memory. If over half of your budget is in memory already at $700, and you're trying to get in a good $200 to $300 motherboard, maybe a $300 to $400 processor, you still have to get a case. Power supplies are still pretty cheap. NVMe is still, I think you can get a 200 gig, Western Digital or Samsung, or 2 terabyte, Western Digital or Samsung for still like $200. So that's still not bad. That's still pretty good, actually. But it kind of almost sounds like that might be the next ding in the armor, right?
It could be.
Gaming.
I mean, you have to see like the other parts and pieces and see if they start going up in price. But I'm wondering if, and I'll throw this by you, I'm wondering if like the initial like thought process of a lot of these bigger companies, Nvidia and so on, is to push, kind of like you were saying, kind of push out of the consumer market and more of like a subscription type market, right? They invest into the data centers, they invest into enterprise structures and say, hey, if you want to play our games or access our features or anything like that, you have to pay through our subscription model or whatever like that. I mean, it almost feels like they're trying to take the process of control or choice away from the consumer and saying you only have one choice and it's our choice, right? You can choose between our 3 plans, but it's still, and that's pretty much the gist of it. It almost feels like it's kind of not just in gaming in general, but like a lot of things seem like they're trying to go in that direction, because you're right. A lot of things are becoming, especially gaming and a lot of other stuff are becoming, gaming is already a luxury, but it's becoming an unobtainable luxury anymore. Right. And you're also correct with, we play all sorts of different consoles and things like that, but it is getting to the point where like, it's just getting so expensive that it's like, we used to buy all the consoles and everything and play them all and buy games from various things. And now it's like, okay, now getting to the point where it's like, I'm just going to have to choose one avenue and just stick with that, because it's just getting too expensive to go down each road. So I'm wondering, like, what do you think of that thought of the big competitors out there, Nvidia, Google, whoever, AMD, maybe even at some point, stepping away from the consumer market almost entirely in that aspect and more of going toward a streaming or service type situation, right? Maybe even like a pre-built, like them all going into the pre-built markets, right? Or
oh yeah, because they get first crack at all the stuff, right? Because they're talking directly to distributors, so they're like, hey, I want all. What stock can I get of the next 5060 series or whatever? The 5060 and 5070, which are supposed to be highly affected next year. 40% is like a major disruption, in my opinion, to the market,
because they wanted you to like basically purchase it like a phone, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
make payments on it.
Yeah, and then buy a new one every year, or every 2 years, right? Upgrade to the next model of thing. And that's going to give them more money than you going out and spending like $1,000 on a 5090 and then not buying a new graphics card for like 20 years, right? Or whatever, right? Until like a couple editions go by and you're like, okay, I finally need to upgrade, right? I mean, they want you to keep that, they want to keep that flow going. So
it almost feels like we'll be forced into subscription based streaming. Streaming. And I hate that idea with a passion. I mean, if there's anything,
Nvidia's already got the GeForce Now or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't think it's very popular still, right? But we see so many of them shut down, right, over the years.
Or whatever their streaming thing's called.
Yeah, I think it's GeForce Now, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's GeForce Now. Because we lost. What did we lose already? We lost. Luna's still out there, right?
That was that Google one. The Google one shut down.
Oh yeah, the Google game streaming thing.
Yeah, Luna's still around. That's Amazon's.
Yeah, Amazon's. It was Stadia. That's the one that's gone, right?
Stadia.
Yeah. But like that's what I feel, and I'd be afraid of is that it's going to be so bad. It depends on, like I said, what happens to AI in the next couple of years is what's going to happen to gaming, because at some point you're never going to be able to afford the hardware. So if you really want a game, your only option is to subscribe to a streaming service to stream games. And that's the quickest way to get me out of the market, in my opinion, because in my opinion, that's not gaming to me. That the streaming is just not. Every time I play a streaming game, I get so annoyed because I don't care how good everything is. Your internet is affected. You're affected by it by your internet. You're affected by it by your local network traffic within your own household. Whereas if I am gaming on my local machine that's not an online game, I'm self-contained within whatever problems my own PC may have or whatever, which can be compensated. But then if I'm fighting the global network traffic for the data center, no matter how many load balancers and web tiers and all this crap they've got, and then I've got to get through the internet traffic, and then I got to get through my own local internal network traffic. It's just, you just added so many layers that the games never are smooth. I don't care what anybody says. I have gigabit internet, and I have my network segmented down to where all of my Internet of Things devices are on their own network away from my other network. Things are just segmented off to the best that I can do with the consumer level routers and stuff that I have. But at the point where it's just everything stutters, I don't care what they say. Like I said, I have a decent internet connection. I have a pretty decent computer, and I've tried the streaming games, but it's just, the games stutter at like the wrong time. It seems like you'll get into it and you'll be like, okay, this is working out pretty well. And you get into an intense fight or something in a game, and next thing you know, it's like, I missed like 20 frames or 30 frames. And you're like, I just rubber banded, or I'm just like over here now, or I'm spun around in the wrong direction. I'm like, what the hell? So streaming gaming is not
like
for me.
Racing or like shooting games, like those are pretty much non-playable. Like you want to play like just simple games, like those can stream fine for the most part, but racing games is like, especially racing, because you're going so fast and it's got so many, racing especially, like, and the reason I bring that up compared to like FPS is because a racing game, you're going like 100 miles an hour, and it's got every single frame's got to like you're
making twitch movements on the controller, right?
So
then you're like,
and it's got to, even if it's just showing, even if it's just displaying what's in front of you, right? As far as like graphically, which helps with load and stuff like that, scene loading or whatever they call it, right? Where it's just showing you what's in front of the camera. It just loads what's in front of the camera or something like that, and a little bit out from that. It's like, I don't know, something I can't remember what they call it, but even that like doesn't help that very much when it comes to streaming. So yeah, it's still a long way off, and I feel like I'm exactly what you say. That's just kind of where they're going with it. I feel like, and they're going to force you into it, right? It's not going to be like an option right now. It's an option, but it's at some point it's going to become the only option.
I mean, how do you feel? Because it seems like every level of gaming is being affected now, right? Memory. It seems like power supplies aren't, because obviously different data centers use different power supplies, and typically they're not even the same manufacturing. Like Corsair is not making, they probably make some server. Yeah. Right. Power supplies. But obviously I was reading an article too, just in between all this discussion about, and so I don't notice the storage price increases as much because I haven't had to buy storage in a while, but I guess $200 for 2 terabytes is high. I thought that was pretty good, but I guess it was quite a bit cheaper up until this year,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's been a
So,
while since I priced
yeah.
them. So
I really didn't notice that, but memory is something I keep more of a closer eye on because I do sometimes I'm like, oh, I can upgrade my memory, right? Even within that sphere, you can still upgrade your memory, and video cards are always something that's up front. You're like, I had a 3060 before the 4070 Ti Super, and I'm always looking. And now that I have a 4070 Ti Super, I'm like, where are the 50 series at? You know, what is my upgrade path? If I want something better than my 4070 Ti Super, I need to look at the 5080 and up. And I'm like, well, I can't really afford the 5090 because I'm not spending $3,500 for, like a Astral version of that from Asus or whatever for ROG. But, so I keep an eye on some of that stuff, but storage I've really never kept an eye on because it's like, I don't really buy more storage until, because I'm running 4 terabytes in my PC today, two separate 2 terabyte NVMe's, one for the OS and one for my game drives and stuff like that. So I don't really pay too much attention to that, but everything is being affected. How long, Nick, what are your estimates? What do you think of, how long do you think we could keep this up? If we can't afford to get anything, how do you think gaming is going to look in the next 1 to 2 years, especially when we're supposed to get next gen of everything, consoles and Steam machine?
well, I mean, one of two things are going to happen, right? Either this AI bubble that we're in currently is going to pop, and it pops, and that's going to be where companies are going to go, oh, we went a little too heavy handed in this. Maybe we need to slow our roll, right? And it's going to become more of like, because right now employers and companies are looking at AI as a replacement. And you've talked about this before too. And it's like, they're going to realize that, or need to realize at some point that it's not a replacement, it's a tool, right? It's a tool that can be utilized, but it cannot replace an individual, right? No matter what it is. Like, you can't replace that interaction with a human being, right? And that just the thought process of a human being, right? Just the way that we think of things and stuff like that. Like a computer, no matter how much you program and things like that, I just don't think it, I mean, maybe in the future, possibly, you go way in the future, but like currently, I don't think it could process things like our brains comprehend things and process information and stuff like that. We're just wired completely different than what computer can do. So either the AI bubble is going to burst and that will start to bring those prices down and then it will be manageable, or this AI bubble will continue to grow and it's going to become absolutely unobtainable. And it may not be next year, but definitely a few years down the line, it could be very, very unobtainable to where, not just in gaming, but in a lot of things, but especially for the gaming side of things, like, games and hardware and stuff like that, I think will take a big hit from the consumer side of things. And I'm wondering what, um, game developers, publishers, and console or any type of manufacturer like that is going to do in those scenarios, right? I mean, because they won't be able to sell that $1,200 or $1,300 Xbox, right, or whatever, or $2,000 Xboxes, if people won't buy, they don't have the capital to do so. It's not like the people don't want to; it's just they don't have the money to do it. So, what direction will those companies then take? Will they step back and go, "Oh, maybe we need to, re-strategize," or will they go in a completely different direction? Like, I'm not sure on that one.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess we can go two directions, right? Either the AI bubble pops and everything goes cheap again, kind of like the whole cryptocurrency thing, where
that's what I'm hoping for.
Well,
Fingers crossed.
Like cryptocurrency really didn't pop, but it's not like the way that
it's not
things
like
are mined.
Was,
yeah,
right.
we're not like fighting crypto miners for GPUs like we used to.
Right. And like a lot of that stuff did, right? Like the blockchain and NFTs, the blockchain. And
then AI
crypto is still around, but I mean, like, yeah, it's not like it was.
Yeah, you couldn't get a GPU at MSRP to save your life back then. And we were talking like majorly above MSRP. And today you could get video cards at MSRP, but MSRP is pretty high. But, or this other thing happens where supply will eventually be able to catch up. Like AI will level off to where you're not onboarding new how should I put this? We're not onboarding such newer, larger language models, new LLMs, or any other data center, building out entire data centers to, manage this new company's AI ambitions and things like that. So it will level off, but how long will it take to level off, or will it collapse before it levels off? Because either way, things should go back to normal. But at the same time, if things just level off and the bubble doesn't burst, then the prices will stick, because this will just be like, hey, there's nothing new coming up, but supply will be able to catch up, but it will never drop price again. But if the bubble bursts, then there's a stockpile of all this crap that they need to get out of their warehouses, so the prices will come down.
That's why I'm hoping the bubble bursts, right? Because if it does the second option, like you says, if it levels out, then the prices will stay where they're at, right? So companies will not reduce those prices down. So even though it should be cheaper, right, quote unquote, it won't be. So
yeah, they're not holding on to way too much stock, right? They're like, hey, we don't have the stock.
Grocery stores did that during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm. And now that everything's leveled off, the prices didn't go down.
The prices didn't go down, right? They just stayed as high because because consumers. I mean, the thing about groceries though is it's a necessity, right? So it's like consumers. I mean, for certain items maybe, but for a lot of things, consumers don't have a choice,
right?
Especially in like rural areas where they may only have one option for a grocery store or something like that. Walmart's. I mean, this is a whole different subject, but Walmart's kicking out a lot of mom and pop stores and stuff like that. So that's the only option in that area. Mm-hmm. And, so they have no competition.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough couple of years, I feel, for gaming, and it's at the wrong time. Like I said, next gens are supposed to be coming out, which means that next PS6 and Xbox, whatever, and Steam machine, they're going to be up there in price. I remember you used to be able to get like an entry level gaming PC pre-built for like $700. That's not happening these days. And that would come with a monitor, keyboard, mouse, all that. Now you're like, hey, $1,200, you get, and you get a very low end gaming machine. We're talking
most of them still do come with a keyboard and mouse, but they're
not the monitor.
The shittiest keyboard and mouse possible. But you
don't get monitors anymore on a pre-built, so like I said, and you still see some good deals. Like every now and then I'll see a Costco.
Yeah, Costco has had some pretty good pre-built deals lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For a pretty good price. For what was in it.
Yeah, but I mean, like when you look at like iBuyPower, you're looking at something with a 5060 in it, and it, about $900 on the very cheap, but most of the time they're $1,300. They go on sale every now and then, but I don't know. It's becoming too unaffordable for the console market, I should say. The console market is becoming, actually, because the console market used to be, I don't know how to say this.
I mean, that's the entry level market, right? That's the affordable market.
It's the affordable market. It used to be where gamers,
if you were PC gaming, that was like a luxury.
Yeah,
you were a luxury gamer at that point, right? Because it was expensive, even back in the day.
Yeah, an $800, $700 PC was way more than like a $350, $400 console, right?
Right.
So, and now we're looking at. I think the next gen console is minimum of $700. I think it's going to be more than $700.
I think it'll be more than that.
Yeah. So it just means that gaming has had like a windfall few years, even with all the layoffs of the last couple of years. Gaming has still just like increased their revenue billions and billions more dollars every year. But to me, with the economy and the cost of all the hardware, their billions and billions of profit revenue is not sustainable, because the gamers are not going to be able to keep up with it. Like I said,
there's a ceiling everywhere, right?
I'm not keeping up with it. I mean, to be honest with you, I will seriously not look at $1,000 PS6. I don't know if I'd look at a $700 PS6 or whatever the next PS is. I am not buying another Xbox. I will not be buying the next gen Xbox. I don't own a Switch 2, and I don't think I will, because to me, there's just nothing in there that there's a couple of games I would love to play on it, but it's not like absolute console sellers for me. Right. I have a Switch. I got a Switch for the games I wanted. But like there's nothing out there for me that I just have to play right now. So, I mean, So I am going down like it is highly likely that I'm going to be a one avenue gamer with this next generation. I'll be PC only. I won't be on the Xbox. I won't be on the PlayStation, which sucks because I really want to play some games on PlayStation. I mean, I hate to say it, but I haven't got to play Death Stranding 2 and I really want to. I'm holding out for the PC release on it. Even though I have a PS5 right here, I just don't turn it on because I'm just not interested. I'm probably trying to subconsciously wean myself from it. So when the PS6 comes out, I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't need it. I don't have that. I don't want to have that FOMO.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I feel like too, just to kind of end things on my end of it, I feel like also, especially, in these last few years, in my opinion, I feel like console manufacturers, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have really, I feel like they've really pushed away their console gamer, right? I almost feel like, I don't know, like I have a Switch 2. I like it. I mean, my Switch one was pretty much dead, so I needed a new Switch anyway. The fan in mine didn't work anymore. So it would overheat all the time. I bought an external fan and then that died. So I was like, all right, time for a new one. So, but the Switch 2 is not really a huge jump from the Switch. And Xbox, who knows what the fuck they're doing. And then PlayStation, like they're the only ones that, but again, they don't release a lot of first party titles throughout the year. If you think about it, there's not a lot of titles that are just exclusive to their machine, right? Maybe just how many did we get this year in 2025? Whether it's one,
we didn't get a lot,
2, or maybe 3. There was Death Stranding 2, that one that I just thought of it and I totally forgot it now. Oh, Ghost of Yotai, right?
Yotai, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to think of what else was. I know there was more. I'm just can't think of it.
Yeah,
I don't think it got awarded didn't come out this year, right? That was a couple years ago.
I think that was last year, right?
Yeah, or something like that.
I mean, yeah, because when you think about like Helldivers 2, that came out on Xbox, not Xbox, but PC and PlayStation, but eventually came to there. I'm just trying to think of like, so we got all the God of Wars out there. I'm trying to think, did we get something?
Well, no, that came out on PC too. So,
I'm trying to think. I don't. Yeah, so I mean, when this is the problem, right? When you're trying to find the exclusives, this is where the problem begins. You're like, okay, what did I get this year to justify this $500 console that I've got, right?
Yeah, because I was looking at like what came out. So GameStop says PS5. Well, it says 2025's best PS5 games. Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotai. And then after that, they have Dispatch, Luminous Arise, and Baby Steps, which all also came out
somewhere else. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we're getting that one like Souls-like fighting game with the baby that we were talking about for the Game Awards.
Is that next year or is that?
Yeah,
this year?
I think it's next year.
Yeah, so I was just saying like 2025, like what came out this year.
I mean, but like looking forward to next year, I'm trying to think of what we're getting, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the whole point that I was trying to get at is, if you think about it, most years there's not a lot of exclusives on that. They do make great exclusives. Don't get me wrong. We all know that. But really, the amount of exclusives that come to PlayStation are only like 2 to 3 every single year.
Yeah.
Right. That are the big hitters, right? There might be some other exclusives, sure, but I'm talking about the big hitters, right? Not like the, third party, like no one's ever heard of, but it only comes out on PlayStation type games, right? There's always those and stuff, but I'm talking about the big hitters that make Sony money, that everybody knows about, and those are few and far between. And next year we might get Wolverine, right?
Yeah, that would possibly be a PS. That'll probably be PS only, right?
Because that's Insomniac. Yeah. And then of course we'll get that Phantom Zero, whatever, and
that Intergalactic as well, because that's
is that supposed to come out next year?
Well, we got a demo sometime in the early next year.
There was the demo was for investors or for something like that, wasn't it?
Oh,
I thought.
I don't know. I just know they were working on a demo.
Yeah, they're working on a demo. I think to show shareholders or something like that. It was what I read in the article, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure we'll get Wolverine next year. I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about, and then the Phantom Blade Zero. We already know that one. I don't know about Intergalactic if we'll get that next year or not.
I gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. So,
But yeah, I mean, is it really worth the, especially like this time? Maybe yes. The PS5 and everything. It's a great system. But is the PS6, especially at a much higher price, is that going to be worth the exclusivity, right? And stuff like that, or are you going to? I guess it depends on what type of gamer you are and stuff like that. But if you're already, I don't know, for the people out there, maybe I'll end my part with this because we're getting a little long on the video. But for those out there, if anybody's listening at this point, if you only play on PlayStation 5 currently, like that's your only system, your only avenue of gaming, and that's where all your stuff's at. If a PS6 comes out at like, let's say, what do you think minimum would be? Because like, what is the PS5 Pro? Isn't it like $800?
It was $700, I thought.
It was $700.
They got a price increase, I thought.
So we're probably looking at $900 to $1,000 for a PS6.
So it looks like you could pick up a PS Pro for right now for $650. So the price looks like it's coming down.
So it looks like it went down for the holidays or something.
I don't know, but yeah, you can pick it up pretty much everywhere. Target's got it for $650. Looks like it says that normal price is $750, but you know how that is. So I don't think it was $750 normal. I remember being $699, but maybe it did go up to $750.
It might have.
$749.99.
And it might be just on sale right now for the holidays, possibly. Or it might need a new price point. I don't know. But
yeah, look at that. Yeah, the prices went down. They've been down since what looks like Cyber Monday, maybe.
Yeah, so it's probably just down for the holiday, and it'll probably go back up.
Yeah.
So you're looking at $700, $750 right now for a PS5 Pro, right? $800 in total after taxes and stuff like that, right? So for a PS6, right? You're looking at probably close to $1,000, if not a little over $1,000.
That's not obtainable.
If I were to guess, right? And I'm just totally guesstimating. But if you were a PS5 player and that's your only avenue of gaming currently, would you pick up a PS6 at that price point? Or would you, I mean, like really, and it's fine if you do, to each their own. I'm just wondering, like, how many consumers out there will actually go that route, or if they'll either stop gaming altogether, just keep with their PS5 until like it gets to the point where, they don't make anything new for it, or go a different route, right? Go to a different console or a different avenue.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. So if anybody's listening, and PS5 is your, or anything really, any console, right? You don't have to use PlayStation, like any scenario. Bob's console. If that's where you play all your games, and they come out with a really high priced console next year, are you going to, what's your thought process for that? Like, I'm not sure what mine would be. I'd probably keep with the PS5 that I have or whatever, and then look at other avenues for gaming, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. Like I do enjoy
cheaper avenues.
Yeah. I do enjoy the PS5 exclusives, or the ones that are put out by Sony, I should say. Sony's first party games. I do enjoy them. Right. They make good games, but I cannot justify $1,000 machine just to play like 2 to 3 titles a year.
Right.
I just have to wait at that point if they come out on PC, because they don't always, right? But if they come out on PC, I wait for that. Because I will be sticking with PC, because I think I have the best opportunity on the PC to get games at a discounted price, because on the PlayStation, they have, I don't know how this is allowed to happen, but they have a monopoly on digital games. You can only buy games on their storefront, right? For digital games. So, and with the physical market, I'm not even sure we'll have a physical disc games in the next generation of consoles.
I doubt it.
For Xbox and PlayStation, but they might. But at that same point, but with PC, you've got like all kinds of avenues to get games at a discounted price. So, you got Steam, you got Epic, you got the Microsoft Store, and there's sales going on that crap all the time. I mean, there's Steam Winter Sale going on right now.
Right.
You know, and you can get games for free on the Epic Store all the time, like twice a month. You get free games on Steam, you know, at the same time. So you get free games everywhere. And then if you want to subscribe to Game Pass, which whatever, you can play games, you know, all their games in their library, depending on which one of their tiers you get. So, so yeah, as Nick said, let us know if you know, what do you think, you know, what is your hardware price point cutoff to where you would say, I'm not buying that for gaming? Because everybody has a price point, right? There's just what can you afford versus what you play, right? If you're the casual gamer who plays 4 or 5 games a year, that's a difference between a person who plays 40 games a year or something, right? As you may have noticed, this channel used to review games, but it's at the point where we just can't afford to keep buying new games because we were buying games every week times 3. I would buy mine, Nick would buy his, Shane would buy, and it's just that was unobtainable for us to keep doing that. And so it's like, well, you know, we had to get out of that because it just became too expensive to do. And now here we are trying to buy. Here I am trying to build a new PC, and I'm like, well, I can't afford that now. So, you know, in one giant lump sum, and I just cannot see myself paying $700. I honestly can't see myself paying $700+ for a PS6. So that will price me out of that one. I'm not even bought a Switch 2 because I think, like I said, there's not very many games out. But in my opinion, the Switch 2's hardware specs do not warrant the price that they're asking for, in my opinion. Yeah. But that's my opinion. I don't have one. So let us know down in the comments, what is your break point where you're like, I just cannot do this and I will not do this. You know, let us know what you think down in the comments. And if you're not subscribed, why not? You've reached the end of this video. You've heard us talking about all this crap. We've asked you to interact and put some comments down there. You reach the end, subscribe, help us out. We hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.